phone in case I need to reference anything.
Look, I got my laptop right here because I was like, I can't use my phone because my phone right there.
Your phone is right there.
Yes, it is.
And I have done no research.
It's fine. It's fine.
All I have is pure emotion.
This is a safe space. I think.
Is it? Because internet.
My channel is a safe space. Emotion is what I want to hear anyway. Welcome to House Divided. You thought I was going to say play under review. I thought I was going to say play under review for a second too. But welcome to the new series, House Divided, episode 2. I am one of your hosts, the Ace 513, and this is my co-host, the Kid 43. And this is reaction for the NFL draft.
I'm going to preface this whole conversation really with a repeat comment. I don't know if you're going to edit that out or not. I did no research in preparation for this conversation.
She doesn't need to do research. All you need to see is the emotion she's going to show in a couple minutes.
Don't hype it up. Don't hype it up.
So what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about the draft, our reaction overall to the draft, and maybe we'll go by each round. But first off, I'm going to start off with just the overall draft. Overall, I think Cincinnati overall did a pretty decent job with the draft. I believe there were 10 players that Cincinnati drafted. And this is from round 1 all the way to the last round, round 7. So they drafted LSU wide receiver Jamar Chase, the Clemson offensive lineman Jackson Carman, Texas linebacker Joseph, forget what they said with his last name, Asai. Heard that he was a stud though. They drafted defensive end Cameron Sample from Tulane. They drafted Tyler Shelvin from LSU, offensive lineman Deontay Smith from ECU. They drafted Evan McPherson from Florida, kicker. We need a kicker. They drafted offensive lineman Trey Hill from Georgia. We're going to talk about that one. They need a lot. They drafted Chris Evans, the running back from Michigan. We're going to get into that too.
Not the Captain America one.
Not the Captain America one. I sure enough put in Chris Evans, and that's exactly who they came up with. I had to put in Chris Evans football, and then I got the right person. And the last person they drafted was from, I think, Kansas State, defensive end Wyatt Hubert. So, like I said, overall, I think Cincinnati, they did a good job. Like I said in the last video, talking to the Kid, I was Team Panay when it came to round 1, but they ended up picking Jamar Chase, and I'm not sure if I said it on the video, but off camera, I did mention to the Kid that I want Panay Sewell, but it's been a lot of things that I was hearing where they were like, they're going to go Jamar Chase. The very next round, they got offensive lineman Jackson Carman. What I thought would have made the Jamar Chase pick even better, as far as grading it, I think initially I started off grading it as a B. Because to me, it depended on how the rest of the draft fell. Because, we had different needs, but one of the things I wanted to address was the offensive line.
I would say that's your biggest need.
Yeah.
And it's probably because bro had his cap snatched.
Yeah, his cap snatched last year. So.
Last year, so.
Yeah, so definitely, go ahead.
I was going to ask, just looking at those first 2 picks, seeing the order that they went in and knowing that, there was that safety measure need. I don't want to say safety need because there's a whole position called safety, but there was a safety measure that was needed for your quarterback who just got a fresh set of kneecaps. Yeah. For me, I could be a little bit emotional, a little bit harder on the team. It would have pissed me off in the first thing. If I was a Bengals fan and the first thing they picked was a wide receiver, and I'm like, were we not watching the same game?
I'll be honest, there was the Bengals fans that I follow on Twitter, about 90 to 95% of them are really, really optimistic when it comes to the team. There are some on there that are too optimistic, but overall, the Bengals fans that I follow on Twitter, they're really cool, and they're optimistic. And on Facebook, some of the Cincinnati things that I follow, Cincinnati it's Cincinnati Reds page or some other random Cincinnati things I follow, they talked about what the Bengals were doing, and all those fans on those pages were obliterating the Bengals. They were all pissed.
I'd have been in that group.
But I'm not really too mad. I have concerns.
Yeah.
And the reason why I have concerns is because, like, they did in later rounds get offensive linemen. I'm not like 100% sold on some of the guys that we have in the room at offensive linemen. And that's why I'm concerned. At the same time, if this was like any other year, like a couple, I could name like different years back then, I would be mad. This offseason, just seeing some of the things that they've been doing, they went out in free agency and they're not like, they weren't, oh, they didn't find like the best offensive lineman out in free agency, but they understood that there was a need. Like they let go Bobby Hart, that was on the line because they didn't believe that he was getting it done. So they went ahead and cut him. They signed a dude, I want to say he came from the Vikings. He's like in his 30s, but pretty solid like option. Better than some of the options that we've had previously. And I think they signed about like 2 veteran linemen in the offseason. They let go of that linebackers coach, Jim Turner. And let me tell you, it was a combination of me not liking the line. Yes, yeah. I was like, we need a new line, this and that and third. But I am definitely not going to exclude the fact that Jim Turner, when he first got there, I was like, why are you there? I didn't like that pick from the jump. Like I talked to you about like some of the things like how he was at in Miami. I couldn't trust him from the jump. And it's like Zach Taylor can talk about like, he's believe me, he's good, this and that and third. I think this is when Zach Taylor first stepped up on the scene. And just because, you get hired, and not like gonna immediately get my respect as a fan. Right. So it's just like he came.
I've been trash for so long.
Anyways,
well, I mean, I was just saying, it might take a little, little actual action, hot stepping, on the side of the team to prove that they're no longer trash.
Maybe. Anyways, I was happy about the fact that we had a new coach and everything, because it showed they're trying to shake things up. Something has to be different. And they went and got Pollock, or not, Lord Jesus. They went and got Turner, and I immediately didn't like him. He was involved with that Bullygate mess in Miami, and then like I think not too long after that, there was like an issue talking about how he was being disrespectful to this summit. It was like an all women's summit that he got invited to, and some of his remarks, and I was like, I don't want him in the locker room.
Yeah.
To me, I feel like I was vindicated because he's gone. They brought back Frank Pollock. That was the guy that just about everybody in the Bengals community wanted in the first place. Everybody was like, "Why is he leaving?" Like when Zach Taylor came in, he was leaving. I think it may have been a contract dispute. Either way, everybody was like, "Why is he leaving?" Getting back to it, I like Frank Pollock as the offensive line coach. Some of the guys that we got in free agency, and then they did get in the draft, he's saying, "Hey, these are the guys that I want to work with." I think Zach Taylor was talking about, they believe the guys that they did draft in the later round, plus the additional linemen that they have now, they believe they can make it work. And I was like, I'm trusting that more because of who they have at the offensive line coach. I know there's some people that's still going to be mad because of the fact that, they didn't draft Penei Sewell. God, I forget what that other guy's name was. He went to, Penei went to Detroit. I felt so bad for him. There's another guy that was a higher. It's like 3 offensive linemen. But there's going to be fans that are going to be mad. There's national media talking about the Bengals, like when they drafted Jamar Chase, and there was like the Bengals have done nothing to shore up the line with Joe Burrow. I understand because this is a national media talking about the Bengals.
Yeah.
But cutting Bobby Hart, for example, some of the veterans that they did bring in, plus adding Frank Pollock to the roster, it may seem like little moves, but those were big moves for the Bengals.
Extrapolate.
So I did not like Jim Turner. Like I said, I didn't like Jim Turner being an offensive line guy. I did not think that he brought out their potential. I really feel like not only were there like some people or there's some guys on the line that, they shouldn't have been starting. But at the same time, it's not like they had a good enough offensive line coach to coach them up. I think overall, they did a good job with the draft, and pick that they had was Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is, everybody knows, Jamar Chase is going to be a stud. To me, I think it's another thing. I still think the Ravens has the most trash wide receiver core in our division. Still thinking about it, it was just I was hyped, and it was like, yeah, we have to have that firepower because Browns they're gonna get Beckham. They're gonna get Beckham, but they still got Jarvis Landry. It was another guy. Was it Peoples Jones? It may be somebody else, but they had a third guy. They got a nice receiving core, and it's like for the Steelers, they got Juju Smith-Schuster. They got they got Claypool, and I'm missing a third.
Deontay Johnson.
Yes,
Washington.
actually between him and Washington, because I think at one point Washington was it seemed like Washington was kind of so, but then Deontay came in, he kind of low key pushed them.
Yeah, the Steelers are really good at developing wide receivers. You guys seem to be all right at developing wide receivers. Yeah, all right. I have to agree with you. Like overall, like we're at the top when it comes to wide receiver development.
I don't know about all that, but all right.
Because all you had was AJ Green. But
whoa.
At the bottom.
Chad Johnson, Chris Henry.
At the bottom. At the bottom.
Jones, Muhammad Sanu. Whatever.
At the bottom. And then below that bottom is the Crows. Yeah, I didn't even see who they drafted, to be honest.
I think I saw a few of them. I saw they finally got I think it was like one that made me be like, dang, it fell to them. It was more so Cleveland. Stuff kept falling in Cleveland, pissing me off.
Was it falling to Cleveland or was it falling past y'all?
To Cleveland.
Okay. So I wanted to ask you. I totally forgot to ask you yesterday. We talked about this a little bit last season, but definitely during the 2019 season, as far as you feeling like y'all should have kept Mowgli on board on your staff because he had a really good like sixth sense almost when it came to finding guys in the draft. So kind of following that school of thought, do you think this draft pick list would be better had he actually been on the staff making those decisions? And do you think he would have went with Sewell as opposed to Chase? Look at me acting like this is my podcast or my YouTube channel. Interviewing you, sir.
I think he still would have went with Chase.
Okay.
But at the same time, I think he would have went with Chase. I also think that he would have been a little not to throw shade or anything like that. I'm not trying to say like this is better or anything like that, but I think he also would have been more pressed to trade up and like, for example, I wouldn't have been surprised if he had pitched to like they got Chase and then he had pitched to get back in the first round somehow to get like the top second or third offensive lineman in the draft. We're just gonna go ahead and do a quick. That's my turnaround dance. We're gonna do a quick turnaround. What did you think about the first round?
Oh, the first round. Round.
Actually, no, we're gonna start overall. What do you think about overall?
I stopped watching after that. That pick. Round 1, we got Najee Harris, the running back from Alabama. Round 2, we got Pat Fryermuth. Patty from Penn State, tight end. Round 3, we had Kendrick Green, the guard from Illinois. We got 2 in round 4. Dan Moore Jr., an offensive tackle from Texas A&M, and then Buddy Johnson, inside linebacker from Texas A&M. Round 5, they got a defensive tackle, Isaiah Loudermilk. 1 pick in the 6th round, 2 in the 7th. So in this order, it was Quincy Roche, I believe, a linebacker from Miami, Trey Norwood, a corner from Oklahoma, and then Presley Harvin III, a punter from Georgia Tech. I know we talked about it before that I was nervous about them taking either a running back or a corner, which I know were 2 eyesores of needs for the team. as their first pick, unless they were going with Najee Harris, just because a lot of people were saying he was more of like a surefire investment for the team. And there seemed to be less thought needed behind that decision.
Yeah.
Anything that they needed to mull over, no shade against Pittsburgh. You know that's my team, but they haven't always made great decisions to me when it comes to the position of running back and more so the position of corner. But they ended up going with Najee Harris. That's fine. I'm cool with that. I don't have an issue with it. I've seen some of his highlights, and he does look promising. Yeah. It reminded me of when I saw highlights from James Conner. I remember feeling this optimistic when I watched, some of his videos. So maybe, he'll pan out being just as productive as him, if not more. I wasn't surprised, but I was a little hurt when we lost Conner because I thought he was our better running back on the roster. It sucks that there's that, or prior to the draft, there was that void there once he left. Because we have Snell, but Snell hasn't been very consistent. Jalen Samuels has been irrelevant. And McFarland, I feel like he had been touch and go at one point. Yeah. But he hadn't been a consistent contributor either. And I mean, Connor's, to me, his only problem was he wasn't healthy. He couldn't stay healthy, which is an issue at a position like running back where you're getting a lot of wear and tear just because of the position that you're in. So on top of that, if you can't stay healthy, it makes the wear and tear worse. You know what I mean? Yep. So that sucked. But seeing that we were able to snag Harris, he did fall to spot 24. I was very curious to see who we would draft. To me, like a lot of the sweet spot for the Steelers when it comes to their picks are between the second and third round. Maybe the third round. I definitely know the later rounds, not like seventh round later, but after the first round is where they find a lot of their gems. Yeah. And so I was very curious to see where they would go because I'm partial to the defense. You need an offense. Yes, offense is important. I have positions on the offense that I really do like. But comparing offense to defense, I love defense more than I do offense. I feel like if your defense isn't solid, you're not going anywhere. But, back home to sit on the couch and watch Super Bowl once the season's over. So I was hoping that they would find somebody defensive-wise. I know we had talked previously about there not being a lot of edge rushers. For me, our biggest loss this year was Bud Dupree. First we lost him, for during the season, and then we actually lost him as a player. Yeah. So I think the way the defense performed and the way the team as a whole performed towards the end of the season really spoke volumes to the type of player that he was and the contributor that he was to the Steelers. So the fact that he is gone now, it's not like he has to get healthier. Yeah. And come back. No, he's gone. He's gone. That's a hole. That is a big hole. That's a gaping maw. That is a gaping maw. So I'm looking at it like, well, how are you going to fix it? And again, I know we talked about it before that we really don't have, or really didn't have a lot of edge rusher options. So I wasn't looking for that necessarily, but just something to kind of address the defense. And of all the positions we've talked about that I think they need, some of the analysts were saying they think the Steelers need, all the conversations I've heard about Steeler needs, they pick up the one position that I have not heard a single soul talk about, which is tight end. I left the room and I don't think I came back. I went to go make some tea.
No, you didn't come back.
Yeah, I went to go make some tea and I went to go read my Stephen King book and I went to bed. They pissed me off.
Crap, that's really settling because I'm trying to,
I was done.
Went downstairs. I think you finally came back upstairs in your office for a second, but then you went in the room. She was watching the draft. Yeah, we were watching it. Yeah. And she got up and she was just like,
I'm done. I was very upset about that. They were talking about it after they announced who the Steelers picked, and they were throwing out all these stats about him, and they're excited about everybody gets picked. Oh, this is a good pick, and he's such and such, and he's got this, and he's that. So they're the normal thing that they do after everybody. And they were talking about how this guy's, could be like the next Gronkowski and all this kind of stuff. And all I can think about is the last tight end that they drafted, Zach, what's his name? And how he was supposed to be this Jesse James clone. And how long it took Jesse to get to be as much of a contributor as he eventually became. Mm-hmm. And the lack of the ability of the Steelers to really develop tight ends in a timely fashion after they've drafted them. They didn't draft Vance.
They didn't. They signed him.
They signed him. I would have felt better about it had he been a result of their draft decision.
Yeah.
And their development. But he wasn't. And all I have to look back on is this guy. I don't even remember his last name. You didn't even remember his name at all.
Oh,
Zach?
All I remember is that he is tall and he's a white boy.
For them to spend number 55 overall on a tight end, on that position, it sent me places.
I understand where you're coming from. If I'm not mistaken, either second or either way, it was too high. I think it may have been second. Drew Sample.
I was going to say Sample?
Yeah. Drew Sample. So this actually, I could say I feel your pain. Mm-hmm. Because I was like, why are you drafting this tight end? And then I started hearing, like, there was, like, I think there were some fans that was like, you got to give it a chance. You got to give it a chance. I get where you're coming from, but they had him graded as a 4th or 5th rounder. Mm-hmm. What? So yeah, I'm still low-key butthurt about that. So I understand.
You just lost Pouncey. Our O-line, they, for a portion of the season, did pretty decent. And then things started to happen. We just hit that pivoting point, that turning point during the season where it's just like everything that could go wrong did go wrong between injuries and COVID cases and all that stuff was happening. And it's just like while they were trying to pick up the pieces, you could see how some of these second string guys were playing. You could actually see their on-field performance, right? Because we didn't have preseason, so it's not like you could
find gems during the preseason,
or just see how some of these guys, really perform during preseason, right? So, even if we did, preseason is different from regular season, and the beginning of regular season is different from everybody bum rushing to get into the playoffs at the end of the season.
That preseason, though, that'd be somebody's stepping stools. Like, I may do okay during the season, but this preseason, I'm going to be MVP. Shout out to Brandon Tate. You never know.
It just showed to me, like, the way our season ended, where our holes were, where we lacked depth. Then we get into the off season and we start to have all these losses on the roster. Why didn't we get a center?
Y'all got a center late round, I think.
That tight end should have been like one of their round 4 picks.
Yeah.
You know what? He may pan out to be the next Gronkowski. I don't know. He may be the best blocking tight end that we've ever had on the roster. Yeah. Like I said, I went to go make some tea and I grabbed my Stephen Kingsford.
She never came back.
And I never came back. They called him a Jesse James clone, and after he had been on the team for a while, Jesse James was pretty good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, could have been better? Yes. Yeah. There were areas for improvement. There was room for improvement. And granted, since he left, he went with the Lions, I think. He signed with the Lions.
Yep.
I ain't heard nothing else about him. It could just be because the Lions are trash. So I'm not sure what's been going on with him since he's left Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. But when he was with us, it took him a while to get things going. But once he got some traction, he started hitting a level. And so they were saying that he's a Jesse James clone. I'm like, that doesn't make me feel good about this pick at all, because Jesse James took a while to get to where he was when he left us.
He didn't really start getting together until he left.
Until right before he left. Just kind of looking at what these past 2 seasons, what Gentry had been looking like. Mm-hmm. Yeah, You're right. He was a Jesse James clone.
I will say though, with your guards, like
Mm-hmm.
the tackles that you got, and I wanted to tell I wanted to mention this to make like really any fan, but Bengals fans too, because there was a lot of them complaining about not taking like pretty much not it being Jamar Chase about it not being Jamar Chase and then tackle 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 tackle.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like okay, back up tackle,
Mm-hmm.
like in Joe Burrow we trust. Like one thing I had to keep in mind when they were drafting is just because something's in need doesn't mean you should reach for that position.
Yeah.
It may have been the third draft pick that we had where people was like, "But we need offensive help, offensive line help," and it could be where in that third round it's like, "Well, we're not going to draft an offensive lineman because the highest graded lineman is like late fourth rounder."
Mm-hmm.
So why would you reach for that when you can get like this linebacker or this defensive tackle or something like that?
I mean, I get them not reaching for a particular position just because it was a need. That said, my problem with this tight end pick, I didn't think this was as pertinent of a need compared to almost any other position on the team.
Yeah.
Before I say this, I'll say I'm not sure exactly who all was available that was like as up to par, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what about a center? What about your guards, your tackles? We already talked about but defensive ends.
Mm-hmm.
What about the linebackers? What
about
what about the safeties?
Else?
What about anything? What about anything else except tight end should have been at the bottom unless you know for a fact that this guy is the guy. And I'm not gonna lie to you, Aaron. It's gonna send me through the roof if he ends up being a dud and you spent a second round pick on this guy.
Yeah.
On a tight end.
Yeah.
On another tight end. The only thing that would have been worse if they would have picked another wide receiver.
Speaking of wide receiver, I am actually surprised they did not pick one wide receiver or anybody or a safety. They didn't pick a wide receiver or a safety.
I'm surprised about the safety. I'm not surprised about the wide receiver. And because we have Minka, this is just my guess. I didn't read anything on this.
Yeah.
But because we have Minka, that they may feel comfortable with where they are at safety.
Yeah.
I don't think that's good. I think, we have essentially 2 DBs on our roster. 2 on our roster.
Okay.
We have Minka and Hayden.
I mean, this could be a dope prospect that y'all drafted, Trey Norwood.
No. My point was, I don't think it's good that they're sitting so comfortably with Minka Fitzpatrick as the safety.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And I feel like there's some guys that are still there, like Cam Sutton, that's just is. I don't know why he's still there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. And it's other guys that are like that too, that are back there, that are in the secondary, and I'm just kind of scratching my head, looking like, why are you still here? Now, I guess that being said, I know that the Steelers also did a lot of reworking with the coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be a big piece of what was going on with our secondary being so trashy.
Okay.
Or some like just at different positions that might be the thing that addresses the problem more so than actually changing the roster. I'm trying to reserve some degree of criticism with that until I see how this new staff pans out. But as that being said, I am also surprised they didn't go with safety. I think when we were talking about it a couple days ago, we were looking up whether Minka was a free safety or a strong safety. I think he's a free safety.
Yeah, he's a free safety.
Yeah.
I remember that. You're saying y'all have to get a strong safety.
We need a strong safety. And I guess the other thing is they still could grab one. When we got Hayden, that was in August? There's still time this is just the draft. You know, there's time between the draft ending and the start of the regular season for them to find a veteran, and that also could be the plan, to not want to draft and develop a guy, but to actually find somebody that's already developed, to find that other Joe Hayden. You know what I mean?
True.
So I don't know. Didn't read anything about it. I'm just looking at the draft. My eyes still twitching about the tight end, and you know, I guess you. It is what shocked me was looking through the list and seeing they didn't pick up a quarterback.
Wow.
That shocked me, and that makes me a little nervous because they just signed that 1 year extension.
Mason Rudolph.
For Mason Rudolph.
I didn't even think about that. Oh my goodness.
So it's like, all right, well, if next year Ben's gone, because I'm anticipating this being his last year.
Yeah.
So if next year Ben's gone, and this year they don't like what they see in Mason, or Mason just decides to go somewhere else, all you have on the roster as far as quarterbacks will be Josh Dobbs. And I like Dobbs. I just don't think he's the next guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And anything can happen between now and the start of the season.
You never know.
And, you know, we'll have whoever our fourth guy is on the practice squad. We're rebuilding anyway. You'll find Steelers fans that say, oh, this is the year. I'm not that bad.
Trick, no, it ain't.
It ain't. We rebuilding.
Yeah.
We are.
We was talking about cornerbacks, and I thought about it. I looked at our draft, and I was like, Cincinnati didn't draft a corner. And I was
Y'all didn't draft a single corner?
No, not one. And I was looking and at the roster, and I got reminders, and it's like, so we do have a lot of corners. I'm used to having
trash.
No, gold when it comes to cornerbacks, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Sorry you was a Bengals fan. I was trying to finish your sentence.
Anyways, don't finish my sentence. So because it was like we picked up a couple, and I was like, oh, looking at the list, I was like, oh, we picked up a lot. So Eli Apple's on our roster now. I forget how to pronounce his name, but it's a guy that came from the Cowboys who's actually pretty good. But he's only 25 too.
Woozy?
Yeah, Woozy. Yeah, he came from the Cowboys. We signed him away from the Cowboys. Tony Brown, he's decent. Jalen Davis, only been for 1 year, so that's probably why I don't remember him. Mike Hilton, we were moving on. Donnie Louie, Darius Phillips, Winston Rose, Trey Waynes. So we do have a lot. Like, as far as starting wise, Trey, it's just weird because it's like, gosh, there's so many of these. Unless y'all can correct me in the comments, but unless I'm wrong, but a lot of these guys, this is their first time with the Bengals. Like, it's just weird because I'm so used to them drafting and developing their corners. For the most part, there's been some differences. Like Kirkpatrick, WJ3, William Jackson III, the slot corner that we used to have, I think he's with the Falcons now. Darquez Denard. They were all drafted. The older corners that we had before, Leon Hall, he was drafted. Jonathan Joseph, he was drafted. Adam Jones, we picked him up from, I think, Dallas, but he was with us for like 8 years. So I guess to me, I'm used to us developing our corners. It's just weird because the starters, like, all 3 of our starters are gone. Like our starting corner, who's primarily man-to-man on everybody, he went to the Washington football team. I think Alexander was in the slot. He went back to the Vikings. I'm missing a third because they usually do corners on both sides and then a slot corner. I can't think of it, but it's just like Trey Waynes. He's been with us, but he was injured last season. So he's gonna be your starter, but this is gonna be his first time playing with us. Um, I think I'm assuming Mike Hilton is gonna be the slot guy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's two, and I don't know who's gonna start on the other side. Maybe a Woozy. Um, it's just weird to me because these aren't the guys that we drafted. So it's just like maybe I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking like, okay, all of our corners that we developed, they said bye bye. We need to draft another corner and develop him, but
Yeah.
it's it's just kind of like y'all, Bengals. They have a list of corners. You just gonna have to see how it goes, and then think about drafting a corner later on if it doesn't pan out well. But I I can't believe I'm saying this, but I guess we didn't need a corner.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I just lost count. My eyes crossed and I lost count. I don't think you needed a corner.
Okay.
I don't think
Okay.
you did.
This is fine. This is okay. This is fine. Okay. All right. All right.
Well, I mean, so like as far as the the way your system is now, um with the staff you have now, do you feel like it's easier for like veterans to come in and adjust more than it would be for you guys to actually draft somebody and develop them
I don't know.
to fit? Okay.
I don't know.
We'll see how
It's
it
kind
pans
of
out.
like yeah. It's kind of like when Andy Dalton and AJ first came up on the scene, because this is like when they came up on the scene. This is when Chad went somewhere. Oh, did they trade him? But Chad went somewhere else. This is when Palmer was like, I ain't playing. I'm retiring until y'all trade me. So like it was the beginning of a new era.
Retiring to y'all
And
trade me. That's a passion right there.
yeah,
You are passionate about not playing.
yeah. Shout out to New Stripe City. He had posted a video. I think he had spoke to somebody that's with the Bengals or personnel, or maybe like a beat writer or something like that. But he asked the question, "Do you ever think Carson Palmer is going to be welcome back into Cincinnati?" And like, I even mean to, like, when I read it, I didn't even mean to give a conscious reaction to when I read it, but I felt my face screwed up when I read it, and I was like, oh, like that's gonna be a whole different story we talk about some other time, but
So
I ain't.
he's in that box that we would have put. Well, I'm not gonna speak for all of Steeler Nation. That I put like AB and Bell and all them in.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's probably some Bengals fans that don't feel that way. God, I know a ton of them that feel way worse than me. You can call me bitter. I'm sorry. He had points as to why he didn't want to play for the team. That's fine. Like he was talking about. I'm not even gonna get into that. He had his reasons.
I'm here for the team.
As far as me, as far as some fans, and I think back then, as far as some players at the time, that it kind of leaked out. You quit. You quit. And I was like, at that point, I was so bitter. I'm just gonna say one thing. We're gonna get back on track. I was so bitter at that point where he was talking about, I'm gonna retire, trade me, to the point where I was just like, people were like, get draft, get some capital, get something. You being it's not there. I was like, I don't care either way. If he sit on his butt and retires because he don't want to play, well, sit on your butt and retire then. That's fine. Don't play for us. Go. We can be the team, the organization that's responsible for retiring you. That's fine. Go sit down. So I didn't mind.
Yeah.
And then if they did get capital, I was like, I'm cool with that too. I think we ended up getting two first round picks from the Raiders. And the funny thing is, he was with the Raiders for like maybe 1 or 2 seasons, and then it didn't work out. But that, you know what? Because y'all about to get me started. Y'all about to get me started. All right, back up.
I'm about to say I'm here for it. I mean,
I think we almost like. I think we may be over the hour. So, but I'm gonna chill.
You
That's
edited some of it out, I'm sure. So it'll cut it down. You got time if you want to spill the tea.
I'm not listening to you.
You know how I feel about it. I'll go get my marshmallows and my stick, and we will have a bonfire.
We may talk about it off camera, but we talked about some things here and there. Probably have another discussion off camera. We are probably way over an hour, not way over an hour. We're probably over an hour, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. We talked about a little bit of the draft. It's when we talk about football, we just go. So, it is probably going to be like that with a lot of episodes we have where we have a schedule of the things we want to talk about and we totally veer off course.
Addy moments left and right.
But it's all good because, it's still all about football. So this has been House Divided episode 2. And so we'll see y'all another time next month.
We day.
Who day? Who day? Who day?
We day.
Who day?